Let's talk about the subjunctive. The subjunctive mood can be very difficult to grasp at first, but you can do it. The reason, though, it's difficult is we don't have a perfect analogy in English. We do have an English subjunctive, but let's get into exactly what I mean when I say the subjunctive. In general, the subjunctive is something that is less than fact. What do I mean by that? Here are some examples. If I were king, well, I'm not king, but if I were king, so it's not quite less than fact. I mean, it's not quite fact. Let's go to the movies. It's not really a command. Go to the movies. And it's not really a statement of fact. We are going to the movies. It's something in between, and you may never have thought about that. You know what I mean? You may never have thought about, what does it mean when we say, let's go to the movies? Oh, and this is what I mean when we don't have a perfect subjunctive in English. We use this all the time, but we don't call it the subjunctive. If only I had trained harder, but I didn't. I would have done better, but I didn't. So it's not like I trained harder and I did better. Perfect, English indicative. But that's not what you're saying in this English sentence. You're saying something that is just below a fact, just slightly different from the indicative mood. And this is what we're talking about. How is this going to show up in Latin? Expect an A, subjunctive uses an E. Amat, he loves. Amet, that's the subjunctive form. Second conjugation, expect an E. The subjunctive uses an EA. In other words, habet, which you're all used to. He has, she has. Habeat, that's your subjunctive form. Third, expect an I. The subjunctive uses an A. In other words, ducit becomes ducat. So, in some ways, it's very much like I was saying about English. It's just a little different. Just a little bit different, and so you have to think about what this means. Third IO, I expect an I. Subjunctive uses an IA. And then like capit is what you're used to. Capiat is the subjunctive form. And in the fourth conjugation, you expect an I. The subjunctive uses IA. Now, how are you supposed to remember all this? How are you supposed to remember all this? Oh, I didn't give the example. Audit, audiat. How are you going to remember this? Let's beat a giant liar. Or she wears a diamond tiara. What does that mean? E, EA, A, IA, IA. First conjugation E, second conjugation EA, third conjugation A, third IO, IA, fourth IA. So, these are the forms of the subjunctive. And what I mean is these are these changes before the personal ending. These little bit of changes that mean a subtle difference. So if you're thinking, well, that's just a little tiny difference, you're right. You're right. Let's talk about the usage. We have what we call the jussive subjunctive. He, she, it, or them. Now, the and what it means is it comes from eubeo, eubere, ubi, usus, and it comes from the word to order. So this is an order, or it's just below an order. It's the subjunctive, not quite the order. So let him eat cake. Let them do this. Okay, that's the jussive subjunctive. It is an order. The hortatory uses I or we. And the hortatory subjunctive is, we get the word exhortation from that. Okay? Exhortation. It's an urging. Hey, let me do that. Let me do it. Let me do it. Let them do it. Okay? So it's the same sense, just a little different. Let me, let us. Let's go to the store. Let us go to the football game. That's the hortatory subjunctive. And the third type of subjunctive in this chapter is the purpose clause. And it's introduced by ut or ne. And that is often translated by so that. It's a purpose clause. Now, these three things are different. A jussive subjunctive and the hortatory subjunctive are their own sentences. Let me go to the store. That's the hortatory. Let them do this. That's the jussive subjunctive. It's in a sentence by itself. A purpose clause is its own, is part of a sentence. It is a component in a sentence that is introduced by ut or ne. Let's take a look at the purpose clause. It's a little more complex, not terribly, but let's see how it's put together. In general, I am doing something for a reason. That's the format. I am coming to the forum so that I might see a friend. Okay? Notice the first part, I'm coming to the forum, is just your standard old sentence. I am coming to the forum. And the next part is your subjunctive. Venio ad forum. Ut. Notice that the purpose clause is introduced by an ut, so that videam, I might see a friend. And the purpose clause is nicely, makes some nice parentheses. You know, the ut and the verb, and then the rest is in between. The videam, notice, let's beat a giant liar, the ea, because it's the second conjugation. Videam, you know that is your is subjunctive. Or another example. Marcus is leaving the city so that he might not be seen. Okay? Marcus, exurbe discadet, perfectly normal sentence, no issue there. It's the ne. Remember I said the negative is introduced by a ne. Ne videator. And that ea, video is a second conjugation verb. That ea is in between the stem and the ending is a sign of the subjunctive. So Marcus left the city so that he might not be seen. Let me give you a warning. It is often more difficult to go from English to Latin. And why is that? Remember I said we don't often use the subjunctive. We've kind of lost that. In general, we use the infinitive to use purpose, to show purpose. For example, I am going to the store to buy milk. That is our purpose clause. We use the infinitive, whereas in Latin they're going to use an ut or a ne plus the subjunctive. And this is why I think it's one of the most challenging parts of subjunctive. It's just so different from English. But again, I think the challenge is going from English to Latin. When you see it in Latin, there's no other way to translate it. How are you supposed to translate it in class? I prefer, I think at some stage it's a better translation to put it in English, otherwise to use the infinitive, because otherwise it sounds too Shakespeare-y, Oh, I am going to the store so that I might buy milk. I mean, that's just not how we talk. But for the purposes of this class, let's translate it in that stodgy way, that stilted way, so that you can demonstrate your understanding of the Latin subjunctive. That's what I prefer. You know what I mean? Right. Is it a perfect translation? Well, it's a literal translation, which is what I want, okay? So I want to make that very, very, very clear. At this stage in the game, please do, as slightly awkward as it sounds, use as literal as you can translation in the English to demonstrate your knowledge of the Latin. And then, years from now when you're translating your books, put them into beautiful, perfect English, and that includes the use of the infinitive, all right? So, in sum, jussive subjunctive, just a sentence by itself. There's no other indicative words. It's just that subjunctive is going to be there. Let him do that, let them do that, let her do this. That's how we translate, because remember, subjunctive is just slightly below either the imperative or the indicative. Subjunctive, I don't want to mean to displace the subjunctive in that way, but that's helpful to think of it in that way, I think. Hortatory. Remember, the hortatory is urging. Let's do this. Let me do it. Let you do it. And again, because we are included. The hortatory is when you're included. Jussive is when you're telling someone else to do it. That's the difference. Because an exhortation is, hey, let's all go to Publix. Okay? That's your hortatory subjunctive. The jussive is when you're telling someone else to do it. And then we have the purpose clause, ut or ne, often so that. I am going to the store so that I can get some milk. I'm going to the store, so that we all talk like this all the time. You know what I mean. There's your subjunctive. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.